Today, on Black and Blue Crime, we shall deal with two interesting cases. The 7th of April, 2018, was a quiet Saturday morning in Flagler County, Florida. The sun filtered softly through the curtains of the Chilinski-Johansson household. To outsiders, the home looked like a peaceful sanctuary, a couple, a child, and a new start in a fresh neighborhood. But inside, tensions were simmering. At approximately 10:40 a.m., a frantic 911 call shattered the calm. Keith Johansson's voice trembled as he told dispatchers, "I think my wife accidentally shot herself." His tone was rushed, his words uncertain, and something about it didn't sit right. When deputies arrived, they found 25-year-old Brandy Chilinski lifeless on the bedroom floor. A gun lay nearby, two 9mm casings beside her. One bullet was rubber, the other was real and deadly. The questions began immediately. Was it suicide? Was it an accident? Or was it something much darker? The scene was eerily silent. EMTs quickly realized Brandy had been dead for some time. Her body lay near the bed, no signs of a struggle, but no clear signs of self-harm either. A rubber bullet to the chest. A real bullet through her breast. Keith stood in the hallway, dazed. "She's gone," he muttered, half to himself. "Oh God, I just had it." Was it grief? Shock? Or guilt seeping through the cracks? Deputies began collecting evidence, and it didn't take long to see inconsistencies. If Keith had truly been in the shower, why was the bathroom bone dry? Why were there no water puddles on the floor? And more troubling, why was Keith already planning to remove guns from the home? As detectives combed through the house, they found what would become their first major clue: surveillance cameras, dozens of them, inside, outside, over doorways, in corners. It was like living in a fortress. But the footage wasn't stored in the house, it was with a third-party company in California. Officers would need a warrant. Until then, they had only Keith's word to go by. And Keith's word was shaky at best. He claimed to have been in the shower for 5 minutes, claimed Brandy must have accidentally shot herself, claimed he didn't know what happened. But the officers were already suspicious, because Keith's story kept changing. 4 hours after Brandy's death, Keith sat in a quiet room across from investigators. His body slouched, his voice low. "I don't get it," he said. "We were fine. We were happy." But detectives weren't buying it. Keith had scratches on his arms. His hands trembled. When asked about their marriage, Keith painted a picture-perfect life. "She made breakfast, took care of me. We loved each other." And yet, Brandy had no friends, no job, no social life. She was isolated, controlled, monitored day and night by the very man who now claimed to mourn her. Down the hall, a soft voice whispered truth into the chaos. 6-year-old Ryland, Brandy's son, was interviewed gently by child specialists. "My mom screamed," he said. "Then I heard 2 bangs. Who told you that she was alone?" they asked. "My dad," he replied. It was clear. Keith had planted a story in the boy's head. But Ryland had seen and heard more than his father thought. His testimony became a turning point in the case. Forensics soon proved what officers had suspected. The bathroom Keith claimed to be showering in? Dry. No steam. No soaked towel. No signs of recent use. If he wasn't in the shower, where was he? Meanwhile, the autopsy revealed that one of the bullets was fired from 3 feet away, far too distant for a self-inflicted wound. Brandy didn't accidentally shoot herself. And if she didn't, only one other person could have pulled the trigger. The wait for the surveillance footage ended. When detectives finally reviewed the hours of home footage leading up to the shooting, they were horrified. Verbal abuse, psychological warfare, Keith belittling Brandy, screaming at her, threatening her. "You don't give a damn about me," he shouted. "You'll see I'll leave this world to haunt you." The videos were brutal. 5 hours of relentless torment on the 5th of April. And then, silence. Until the 7th of April, when the camera caught Keith downstairs at the exact moment he claimed to be in the shower. "You drove me to think about it," Brandy whispered in a moment, caught on tape. Her voice was hollow, broken. "Maybe I'll just leave this world." But was that a cry for help? Or was she speaking the words Keith had fed her over months of abuse? In one clip, Brandy begged, "I'm alone. Get me out of here." Keith laughed. "Show the cops this video. I'd rather be in prison." He had no idea those exact videos would become the most damning evidence against him. Keith's voice echoed through the dispatch recording. "She shot herself. I can't get close. There are guns." His story wobbled from the start. Why didn't he try to help? Why was his voice oddly calm? And most notably, why did he avoid mentioning the argument that erupted just moments before the gunshots? When detectives replayed the 911 tape against surveillance timestamps, inconsistencies emerged. Keith called 911 at 10:37 a.m., but at that exact moment, he was seen pacing in the living room, not rushing from a shower. He was never wet, never panicked. Brandy had once been vibrant, lively, and full of dreams. But by 2018, she barely left the house. Her texts with friends slowed to nothing. Her social media froze. Her phone logs? Only Keith. What friends and family didn't know was that Keith had slowly erased every outside connection from her life. "No one cares about you but me," he often told her. She started to believe it. Investigators unearthed the terrifying reality. Brandy couldn't leave the house without permission. Cameras tracked her every movement. Even the grocery list had to be approved by Keith. He managed her bank account, cut off her phone plan, installed locks she didn't have keys to, and all the while, he painted her as unstable to outsiders. It wasn't love. It was prison. The footage from the 5th of April was sickening. Keith berated Brandy for hours. She cowered in corners. He screamed until she cried. At one point, he snarled, "You're not worth a cent. You're a waste of space. What are you doing?" This was no sudden blow-up. It was routine. And on camera, it played like a slow-burning horror movie. Little Ryland was often in the background, sometimes hiding, sometimes peeking around corners. His innocent eyes saw more than a child ever should. He saw his mother cry herself to sleep. He heard arguments through thin walls. And on the day she died, he heard the final scream. Toxicology reports revealed methamphetamine in Brandy's system. But the question loomed, did she take it willingly? Or was it slipped into her drink or food? Detectives suspected the latter. Keith had a stash. Surveillance footage showed him sneaking something into a drawer. Could this have been part of his plan? Officers returned to the scene. They sprayed for water residue. Nothing. The towel? Dry. Mirror? Clear. Drain? Untouched. Keith was never in the shower. The lie had fully collapsed. Keith wept during his first interview, slammed his fists, screamed at God. "There is no God," he shouted, breaking down. But detectives knew the game. His emotion didn't align with the evidence. And when asked again where he was, his story wavered once more. Keith's phone logs told another story. Right after the shooting, before he called 911, he accessed the Arlo camera app. Surveillance footage shows him rapidly swiping through the app, panicked. He was trying to delete the recordings, but it was too late. The cloud had them saved. In another interview, Keith insisted, "Ask Ryland. He'll tell you what happened." So they did. Ryland told the truth. She screamed. Then there were 2 bangs. "Did someone tell you what to say?" "Yes, my dad." When Keith's father entered the room, it was clear he was torn. "If you did do it, you gotta be honest." Keith's eyes flickered. "But I didn't." "I would have told you." His father looked away. Doubt had crept in. The female detective's confrontation. "You're not a monster," the detective said softly. "But this didn't happen the way you said." Keith's mask cracked. He shouted. Demanded she leave the room. The male detective took over. A new approach began. Officers measured the distance from the bullet entry wound. The second shot, the lethal one, came from over 3 feet away. There was no physical way Brandy could have shot herself. Not from that angle. Not from that distance. In reviewing Brandy's old emails and private voice notes, detectives found chilling evidence. "I'm scared of him," she once recorded quietly. "He says I belong to him. I don't know how to leave." Keith admitted Brandy had an online friendship. It wasn't physical, but it was enough to shatter his ego. "He was stealing her from me," Keith growled. Detectives saw the motive forming. jealousy, rage, obsession. The 6th of April. Brandy begged, "Please stop yelling." Keith loomed over her, saying, "I'll leave this world just to haunt you." The next morning, she would be gone. On the 7th of April, Brandy told Ryland, "Maybe we'll go to the fair." Ryland lit up. "I'd love that." But those would be among her last words. Her promise died minutes later. The surveillance captured Keith pacing before the gunshots. Not in a panic, more like someone planning. Then came the scream, then the shots, then silence. Keith claimed he found Brandy holding a gun from his weapon box. But fingerprints proved only his hands were on the trigger and grip. Another lie exposed. The case was airtight, the evidence overwhelming. The grand jury indicted Keith Johansen for first-degree murder. Keith played the insanity card, claimed voices, paranoia. Doctors evaluated him. He was deemed fully competent to stand trial. In a recorded call, his father said bluntly, "You're looking at 30 years. You better start talking." Keith only replied, "I don't remember what happened, but the cameras remembered everything." In an unforgivable twist, Keith told his parents, "What if Ryland did it?" He tried to pin it on a 6-year-old boy, his stepson. Even his father recoiled. "Don't say that again." Prosecutors prepared their case methodically, timelines, forensics, autopsy, surveillance. Their centerpiece? The hours of video showing Keith abusing Brandy. On the 26th of October, 2021, Keith entered the courtroom, shackled. Brandy's family sat silently. Ryland, now older, stayed home, shielded from the trauma. Keith now claimed self-defense. "She came at me with a gun," he testified. But the jury had already seen the truth on tape. Keith lied about where he stood, what he heard, and who shot first. Each lie was ripped apart by experts. The prosecution played the full abuse footage. 5 hours. The courtroom wept. The jury watched Keith torment Brandy. The abuse, the gaslighting, the final scream. Her voice echoed through the courtroom. "You don't care about me. You don't love me. God doesn't deserve this." It didn't take long. 3 hours. Their verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. Brandy's family stood with strength. Her sister spoke. She was silenced for too long. But now, we speak for her. Keith showed no emotion. No tears. No remorse. The judge declared, "You are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole." Brandy's name was finally spoken in justice, not fear. Ryland, now older, began therapy. He drew pictures of his mom in the clouds. "She's with the angels," he said. Brandy's friends began sharing her old photos. Smiles, dance videos, hugs with Ryland. She lived, she loved, and she mattered. Brandy's mother struggled. "She never told us," she cried. She hid her pain. But she vowed to start a foundation in Brandy's name for women in toxic relationships. Inside prison, Keith found no sympathy. Inmates whispered his name like a curse. He remained alone, monitored now like he once monitored Brandy. Detectives began speaking at domestic violence seminars. Brandy's case could have been prevented, they said. Red flags, control, isolation, all were missed. Brandy's hidden notes were published anonymously by her family. They revealed her hopes, her love for Ryland, her fear. The footage of Brandy's abuse leaked online. The public was horrified. Hashtags trended. Petitions rose. Keith's face became synonymous with cruelty. A proposed bill, Brandy's Law, emerged, pushing for stronger protections for victims in controlling relationships. Her death sparked reform. With the help of therapy and family, Ryland began to smile again. He started school, drew superheroes. He said, "My mom is my hero." Though silenced in life, Brandy speaks louder in death. Her story now protects others. And Keith Johansen will never harm another soul again. Brandy's story is not just a tragedy, it's a warning, a lesson, and a call to action. Because no one should suffer in silence. The 27th of December, 2010 was just 2 days after Christmas, in the small, quiet town of Colorado City, Texas. The streets were still lined with twinkling lights, and families were winding down from the holiday rush. But inside one modest home on Chestnut Street, something ominous was already unfolding. 13-year-old Haley Dunn, a spirited cheerleader with bright eyes and a bold personality, was still asleep when her mother, Billie Jean Dunn, peeked into her room that early morning. Billie was headed to work for a long 12-hour shift and expected Haley to either stay home or walk across the street to her father Clint's house once she woke up. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, at least not yet. But when Billie returned that evening, Haley was gone. Her live-in boyfriend, 25 years old Sean Adkins, was home. He told Billie that Haley had left to spend the night at a friend's house nearby. It wasn't unusual for Haley to have sleepovers. She was a popular, well-liked kid at school. But something about that night felt off. The next day, when Billie called the friend's house to check in, the girl's family gave her an answer that sent chills down her spine. Haley never came over. We didn't see her at all. And just like that, a nightmare began. Billie began frantically calling everyone friends, neighbors, and her ex-husband Clint Dunn. No one had seen Haley. She wasn't at her friend's, and she hadn't crossed the street to see her dad. The town was small. Everyone knew everyone. For Haley to vanish without a trace? It didn't add up. With dread creeping into every corner of her mind, Billie called the police. She filed a missing persons report. Haley had no history of running away. She was a happy girl who loved cheerleading and music. Her disappearance set off immediate concern across Colorado City. Within hours, search parties were formed. Neighbors and volunteers combed through fields, abandoned buildings, and nearby woods. Flyers with Haley's smiling face flooded the town. The hope was real, but so was the fear. As investigators dug deeper, they began examining Haley's home life. Her mother's relationship with Sean Adkins quickly drew attention. It wasn't peaceful. Police records showed domestic disturbances and mutual threats. Just 10 months earlier, Billie had called police, claiming Sean threatened to kill her. In 911 call, Billie accused Sean of making terrifying threats. In another, Sean claimed Billie was suicidal and overdosing. Their relationship was volatile, filled with arguments, pills, and emotional chaos. Now, Sean was one of the last people to see Haley alive. Days passed. Still, no Haley. Local news ran daily updates. Hope flickered. CBS 7 reporter Tatum Gwynn remembered the constant anxiety. Any time remains were found in Texas. We feared it was her, she said. Yet, no trace turned up. The media spotlight turned toward Billie. Reporters questioned her every move, especially her decision to throw a gathering just 4 days after Haley vanished. Alcohol, food, music. Billie insisted it wasn't a party, but the optics were damning. Haley's father, Clint, stood across the street that night, watching with binoculars. He saw beer being carried in. He saw laughter. He felt heartbreak. How could you celebrate when your child is missing? He said bitterly. Both Billie and Sean agreed to polygraph tests. Billie's first test was tossed she'd taken narcotics before the exam. Her second test showed deception. No one would say which questions she failed, but it was enough to raise serious doubts. Police executed a search warrant at Billie's house and found something chilling: pages and pages of printed articles about serial killers, mass murderers, cannibals, crime scene photos. Billie said it was just a hobby. The cops weren't so sure. Among the materials found were details on George Banks, a killer who murdered 13 people, including 5 of his own children. It's just research, Billie claimed. But in the context of Haley's disappearance, it sounded sinister. Clint Dunn was outraged. They were studying serial killers, and now my daughter is missing? He said. To him, it wasn't a coincidence. It was a chilling, grotesque clue hidden in plain sight. Billie maintained that Sean was kind to Haley. He wasn't a father figure, just a friend. But rumors swirled that Haley felt uncomfortable around him, and Billie admitted she once doubted him, but pushed those doubts away. Sean told police he was at work the day Haley disappeared, but phone pings showed otherwise. His alibi crumbled. He had quit his job that morning, something he failed to tell Billie. He'd been at the house when she thought he wasn't. Haley's older brother, David, came home that day around 4 p.m. and found all the doors locked. He climbed through a window and saw Sean standing in the hallway, frozen, caught like a deer in the headlights. It raised even more questions. Haley's uncle once told Sean, "I don't know how anyone could hurt a little girl." Sean replied, "It's like killing a deer." He often bragged about gutting deer with chainsaws. Now, people were wondering, had he crossed the line no one could imagine? Local police weren't the only ones eyeing Sean. The FBI named him a suspect. It was a turning point for Billy. "Maybe he wasn't who I thought he was," she said. Her confidence in him began to unravel. During his polygraph test, Sean made a startling claim. When asked where Haley could be found, he replied, "Scurry County." That area was 20 miles north of town. The cops took that answer seriously, but for 2 years, they found nothing. At one point, police showed up at Billy's house looking for Sean. She told them he wasn't home, but he was hiding inside. She was arrested for lying to investigators. She called it a misunderstanding. Others called it obstruction. Clint Dunn, increasingly furious, said Billy hindered the investigation over and over. He couldn't understand it. "How do you lie for someone when your daughter is missing?" he asked. Sean stopped cooperating. He refused further interviews. Reporters knocked on his door. He told them to get off his property. "This is over," he snapped. But the public didn't agree. It was far from over. In March 2013, 2 years after Haley vanished, a hiker stumbled across a skull and a femur bone near Lake J.B. Thomas in Scurry County. Police sealed the area. It was remote, quiet, isolated, just like Sean said. Dental records confirmed it. The remains were Haley's crude. That beautiful, sparkly, tough, funny 3-year-old girl was gone forever. All that was left was bone, a single tooth, and heartbreak. Billy got the call. She collapsed to the floor in her bathroom, screaming, "No, no, no." The final thread of hope was gone. Her daughter had been murdered. Clint wasn't shocked, he was broken. He had always feared this day would come. "Now I just want justice," he said. "That's all I have left to fight for." Despite the remains, despite the clues, despite the polygraphs, no one was arrested. Sean Adkins remained the only named suspect, but no charges came. The case stalled. People demanded answers. None came. The phone record showed Sean's device pinged near the lake on the day Haley vanished. Exactly where her body would be found 2 years later. Coincidence? Or confession in digital form? Sean refused interviews. He went quiet. Reporters were turned away. "We've said everything we need to," a family member barked. But the public wasn't buying it. Billy still hadn't received Haley's remains. 2 years later, she couldn't even hold a funeral. "I just want to bury my daughter. I want peace," she said. To this day, the official cause of death remains sealed. Was it blunt force? A weapon? The police won't say. It's a mystery locked away in a report no one can read. Why won't police arrest Sean? Why didn't Billy join the search parties? Why was there a party after Haley disappeared? The questions hang in the air unanswered. "I will find who did this," Clint said, "even if I die trying. She was my little girl, and I won't stop until someone pays for taking her." The Texas Rangers and FBI confirm the case remains active. Sean Adkins is still the only suspect. Tips still come in, but nothing sticks. Billy now questions everything. Her relationship, her decisions, her judgment. "Maybe he fooled me. Maybe he was never who I thought," she admits. Over a decade has passed. Haley's room is empty. Her photos remain. But the case file sits unsolved. A name, a face, a date, but no justice. Colorado City hasn't forgotten. Memorials appear every December. Her name is whispered in school halls. "Remember Haley," people say. "She deserved better." Online sleuths continue to dissect the case. Polygraph transcripts, timelines, maps. Reddit threads and YouTube channels debate every move Sean and Billy made. Was it the polygraph answer? The phone ping? The chilling words about killing deer? Maybe all of it. Maybe that's the key. Or maybe, we'll never know. "I'm her voice now," Billy says. "I'll keep pushing." Clint echoes the vow. "I won't rest. Not until someone is in handcuffs." And somewhere, far beyond the hurt, the headlines, and the haunting silence, Haley Dunn rests. A little girl with a cheerleader's smile and a warrior's spirit. Taken too soon. Forgotten by none.